The ultimate compliment in the music industry can sometimes become its most inescapable prison. Imagine stepping onto a massive global television stage, delivering the vocal performance of a lifetime, and instantly being crowned the modern-day reincarnation of a legendary rock icon. For a terrified, physically shaking 13-year-old girl, being nationally declared the next Janis Joplin seemed like a golden ticket to absolute superstardom. It was the perfect, highly emotional television soundbite that guaranteed explosive viral ratings and secured her a coveted golden buzzer. But behind the standing ovations, the tearful judges, and the showers of golden confetti, that single, seemingly innocent sentence triggered a suffocating industry curse. It was a curse that almost destroyed her artistic identity before she even had the chance to discover it. We are pulling back the heavy velvet curtain on the multi-billion-dollar reality television industry to examine a phenomenon that has captivated and manipulated audiences globally. The myth of the overnight sensation and the brutal psychological weight of living in the shadow of a musical ghost. This is the dark, untold story of Courtney Hadwin's turbulent journey through the entertainment machine, the toxic backlash she endured, and her incredible, unprecedented independent rebirth in 2026. To fully understand the magnitude of this television controversy, we must first rewind to the exact, highly calculated moment the world was introduced to this phenomenon in 2018. The stage was set with absolute broadcast perfection. The cameras showcased an incredibly timid, awkward schoolgirl walking onto one of the most intimidating entertainment stages on the planet. The angles deliberately highlighted her nervous hesitation, capturing every stutter and anxious glance towards the floor as she attempted to answer the judging panel's standard introductory questions. The audience in the auditorium, and the millions watching from their living rooms, collectively held their breath, fully expecting a fragile, amateurish vocal performance that would perfectly match her overwhelming physical anxiety. But the very second the backing track for Otis Redding's classic hit began to play, an unprecedented, almost violent metamorphosis occurred. The nervous schoolgirl vanished, instantly replaced by a gritty, explosive, and hyper-energetic powerhouse who commanded the stage with the fierce, unbridled spirit of a 1960s rock veteran. The sheer, extreme contrast between her agonizing stage fright and her undeniable, raw superstar talent left the entire auditorium in a state of absolute, paralyzed shock. From a network broadcasting perspective, it was pure, unadulterated television gold. In a moment of unscripted astonishment, celebrity judge Howie Mandel looked at the shaking teenager and boldly declared her to be from a different era, explicitly comparing her to Janis Joplin at Woodstock. It was the ultimate validation. But what the millions of cheering fans didn't realize was that the reality TV machine had just placed an impossibly heavy crown on a young girl's head, a crown that would soon feel like a creative death sentence. The golden buzzer had barely been pressed, and the confetti was still settling on the auditorium floor, before the wholesome, carefully constructed television fairy tale started to aggressively unravel in the unforgiving public eye. Almost immediately following the broadcast of her viral audition, relentless internet investigators and independent media watchdogs uncovered a hidden professional history that the American television network had conveniently and intentionally omitted. The fiercely loyal fans who had championed her as a raw, undiscovered amateur were completely stunned to discover that this supposedly inexperienced talent was, in fact, already a seasoned reality television veteran. Extensive digital footprints and archived broadcast footage revealed that just 1 year prior to her explosive American debut, she had been a highly publicized, top-tier competitor on another massive television franchise across the Atlantic, The Voice Kids UK. She had not merely auditioned and faded away. She had successfully fought her way through multiple grueling rounds, ultimately reaching the grand finals of the prestigious European competition. During her tenure on that broadcast, she received extensive professional vocal coaching, rigorous stage movement training, and top-level industry grooming. This explosive revelation completely shattered the network's carefully constructed illusion of a terrified, inexperienced girl stepping onto a professional stage for the very first time. The fallout from these hidden professional revelations was swift and exceptionally brutal. A massive wave of public backlash crashed down on the young teenager as widespread accusations surfaced regarding the overall authenticity of her entire act. Outraged viewers and cynical media commentators loudly claimed that her extreme stage fright and physical shaking were nothing more than a fabricated, highly rehearsed script designed by producers to manipulate audience emotions and secure viral ratings. Suddenly, the beloved underdog was being ruthlessly painted by tabloids as a deceptive industry plan. But the harsh online rumors and the accusations of being a fake, shy girl were just the beginning of a much larger, far more damaging conflict. The real battle was happening behind closed doors, deep within the corporate offices of the music industry. As the massive corporate machine scrambled to capitalize on her viral momentum, they leaned heavily into the Howie Mandel comparison. This is where the Janis Joplin Curse truly began to take hold. Instead of recognizing Courtney as a unique, developing artist with her own distinct generational perspective, the industry immediately attempted to exploit the massive wave of profitable boomer nostalgia. Record executives and talent managers, driven strictly by analytical data and guaranteed profit margins, pushed the young teenager into a highly restrictive, incredibly predictable retro box. They heavily encouraged her to solely perform classic rock cover songs and adopt a vintage, bohemian aesthetic that directly mirrored the legendary icons of the 1960s. She was being systematically packaged and sold to the global public not as an original creative force, but as a highly lucrative, perfectly engineered 21st century tribute act. The insidious nature of this industry curse is that it completely traps a young, highly intuitive musician in a rigid time warp. It heavily discourages any form of modern musical experimentation or authentic personal expression. The record labels were absolutely terrified of letting her evolve past the profitable television gimmick, fearing that if she deviated even slightly from the reincarnated rock legend persona, the fickle public would instantly lose interest. They wanted a polished, easily digestible product they could market to the broadest possible demographic, heavily leaning on the nostalgia of older generations who had watched the original television broadcast. In doing so, they were systematically and ruthlessly stripping away the gritty authenticity, the unpredictable edge, and the absolute raw power that set her apart in the very first place. She was rapidly losing control over her own voice and her own artistic direction, forced to navigate a boardroom-driven environment where financial metrics mattered far more than genuine creative expression. As the corporate machine continued to force-feed the nostalgic reincarnation narrative, a severe and highly toxic public backlash inevitably began to surface across the digital landscape. Hardcore classic rock purists and cynical media gatekeepers immediately went on the offensive, ruthlessly attacking the young teenager for allegedly disrespecting a sacred musical legend. They viciously tore apart her televised performances, loudly labeling her as a cheap, highly manufactured imitation, and aggressively claiming she lacked the genuine, lived-in pain that fueled true blues rock. The psychological toll of this sudden, deeply hostile global scrutiny cannot be overstated. A young, completely inexperienced minor was being heavily cyberbullied and professionally discredited simply for leaning into the exact persona that the television network executives had explicitly ordered her to adopt. This immense, suffocating pressure created a devastating internal identity crisis for the young vocalist. She was caught in a brutal, unwinnable tug-of-war. If she continued to play the profitable role of the retro tribute act, she would be permanently crucified by the critics as a talentless copycat. But if she abandoned the Janis Joplin persona, She risked completely alienating the millions of reality television fans who had voted for her, and infuriating the record executives who controlled her lucrative contracts. Recognizing the highly toxic, creatively bankrupt trajectory of her heavily controlled career, the young rock star reached a critical, unprecedented breaking point. She realized with absolute clarity that to survive as a legitimate, highly respected artist in the modern music industry, she had to violently shatter the mirror that the corporate executives had placed in front of her. In a massive, unprecedented display of courage and professional defiance, she forcefully rejected the highly lucrative but creatively toxic contracts offered by the mainstream establishment. Right at the absolute peak of her viral fame, when her name was dominating global search engines and television ratings, she executed a near-total, highly strategic withdrawal from the public eye. She initiated a strict media blackout, initiating a mysterious, years-long hiatus that left fans, cynical critics, and industry insiders completely in the dark. This silent period, however, was not an admission of defeat. It was a vital, necessary psychological survival tactic. She desperately needed to escape the toxic, restrictive label of the manipulative, shy television girl, and she needed to break the Janis Joplin curse once and for all. Away from the flashing paparazzi cameras, the demanding television producers, and the restrictive record executives, she spent this silent period quietly grinding, refining her vocal techniques, and discovering who she actually was outside of the sterile reality television vacuum. She was deliberately shedding the skin of the profitable character that made her famous, preparing in absolute secrecy for a massive, undeniable artistic resurgence. Fast forward to the year 2026, and the independent artist navigating the global entertainment landscape today is utterly, spectacularly unrecognizable from the heavily produced, easily digestible character we were originally sold on network television. When she finally re-emerged from her media hiatus, her visual and musical evolution sent a massive cultural shockwave through her core fanbase and the broader music journalism community. The timid, awkward schoolgirl aesthetic had been completely and intentionally incinerated. In her place stood a fierce, highly confident, and exceptionally edgy young artist who commanded the atmosphere with absolute, undeniable authority. There was absolutely no physical shaking, no vocal stuttering, and not a single trace of the manufactured anxiety that had once defined her. More importantly, she completely ditched the safe, heavily sanitized cover tracks that the executives had desperately wanted her to sing. The ultimate manifestation of this absolute creative rebellion officially arrived with the highly anticipated release of her entirely independent original music, including her defining project, Little Miss Jagged. She took a massive, unprecedented risk by completely weaponizing her own words, launching a direct, unapologetic lyrical assault against the very industry that tried to contain her. The new music she released was not a collection of generic pop anthems. It was a series of razor-sharp, brutally honest lyrical confessions directed straight at the throat of the entertainment executives and the millions of cynical viewers who had aggressively tried to dictate her identity. Collaborating with seasoned, authentic rock producers rather than mainstream pop hitmakers, she successfully cultivated a sound that is dangerously raw, exceptionally gritty, and entirely her own. Through her incredibly powerful, signature raspy vocals, she made it abundantly clear to the global audience that the old version of herself no longer lived there. This independent album release was far more than just a standard musical comeback. It was a highly strategic, hostile takeover of her own public narrative. By choosing to strictly write, fund, and perform her own intensely personal words without the financial backing of a major label, she successfully and permanently transitioned from being a human novelty act utilized for network television ratings into a legitimate, highly respected recording artist. She masterfully used her undeniable vocal talent to completely obliterate the fabricated image that had been built around her. breaking the Janis Joplin curse and proving that she was no longer a pawn on a producer's chessboard. Today, the absolute true testament to her massive independent success is fully witnessed within the sweaty, high-energy confines of her live concert performances. She has completely traded the heavily sanitized, perfectly lit television studios for gritty, legendary rock venues across the globe. She intentionally places herself directly in front of audiences who demand genuine musical talent over heavily produced reality television gimmicks. The audiences attending her 2026 tour are not simply nostalgic reality television fans seeking a quick trip down memory lane, but genuine, hardcore rock enthusiasts who deeply respect her undeniable musicianship and her unapologetic defiance of the pop music establishment. By completely cutting out the traditional media middlemen, the aggressive tabloid journalists, and the manipulative television producers, she has successfully established an impenetrable fortress around her personal brand. She frequently posts raw, behind-the-scenes footage from her grueling independent tour and brutally honest reflections on her highly controversial journey, utilizing major social media platforms as a direct, unfiltered line of communication to her dedicated fan base. Looking back at her highly turbulent and unprecedented evolution, Courtney Hadwin's journey serves as a stunning, undeniable reminder of the intense psychological pressures and corporate manipulations hidden deep within the entertainment machine. The reality television industry is perfectly and ruthlessly designed to package young, vulnerable talent into simplistic, highly dramatic storylines for the sole purpose of maximizing advertising revenue, routinely chewing them up and spitting them out the moment the television ratings begin to drop. The corporate obsession with instantly labeling a new artist as the next version of a legendary superstar is a deeply destructive marketing tactic that prioritizes immediate, short-term advertising revenue over long-term artistic development. But this brilliant young musician bravely flipped the script on the entire corporate establishment. She survived being molded into a highly profitable character, endured a brutal wave of cyber scrutiny, and ultimately proved to the entire world that true, authentic artistry cannot be permanently contained within a sterile boardroom script. Her unprecedented journey from the heavily controlled stage of a global talent competition to the gritty, authentic reality of independent rock music establishes a powerful, completely revolutionary blueprint for the future of the music business. She has definitively proven that in the modern era of independent music, an artist does not need the blessing of a major television network or the massive financial backing of a corporate record label to successfully dominate the global conversation and build a highly profitable, creatively fulfilling career. The incredibly shy, physically shaking schoolgirl who briefly broke the internet is completely gone, permanently erased by the brilliant, uncompromising woman she was always destined to become. The unstoppable, fiercely independent rock and roll force she has transformed into today is exactly the kind of fearless artist the modern music industry desperately needs to survive. We strongly urge you to look far beyond the blinding, flashing television lights, question the manufactured corporate narratives, and fiercely support genuine, independent artistry wherever you can find it. Stay vigilant, stay incredibly informed, and never stop questioning the narrative.